I felt my hands go numb as I stared at the document on my laptop screen. The signature at the bottom looked exactly like my mother's handwriting, but I knew for a fact she had never signed this paper. She couldn't have. She'd been in the hospital, heavily sedated, when this supposed amendment to her will was dated. I'd been there with her that entire week. My sister-in-law Nicole hadn't visited once. But here it was. A codicil to my mother's will, allegedly signed just 3 days before Mom passed, transferring her entire estate to my brother Mark and Nicole. Everything, the house in Savannah that had been in our family for 3 generations. The investment accounts Mom had carefully built over 40 years of teaching. Even the small art collection that she'd promised would go to me because I was the one who'd taken her to galleries every Sunday. I scrolled down to the witness signatures. Both names I didn't recognize, both addresses in Atlanta, where Nicole's family lived. My pulse quickened. The email had come from Nicole's personal account, not the estate lawyer. The subject line read, "For your information, Mom's final wishes. No explanation, no phone call first." Just this document dropped into my inbox like a bomb 3 weeks after we'd buried Mom. I picked up my phone to call my brother, then stopped. My finger hovered over his name in my contacts. Mark and I had always been close, or at least I thought we had been. But in the past year, since he'd married Nicole, things had changed. He'd become distant, defensive whenever I asked about their finances. I'd heard whispers from Mom that they were in trouble, that Nicole's online boutique had failed spectacularly, leaving them with over $200,000 in debt. I set the phone down and looked at the document again. This time, not as a grieving daughter, but as a forensic accountant. It's what I did for a living, uncovering fraud, analyzing financial documents for law firms, insurance companies, and federal investigators. I'd testified in court dozens of times. I knew what I was looking at. The signature was good, really good. The pressure points were right, the letter formation was nearly perfect, but there were tells. The way the A in my mother's name curved, it was slightly too sharp. Mom had arthritis in her right hand for the last 5 years. Her letters had developed a subtle tremor, especially on upward strokes. This signature was too smooth, too confident, and the date. June 14th. I pulled up my phone's photo gallery and found the pictures from that day. There I was, holding Mom's hand in her hospital room. The timestamp read 2:47 p.m. According to the document, she'd signed this at 3:30 p.m. that same afternoon, but at 3:30, Mom had been asleep. I remembered because I'd stepped out to call the hospice nurse about increasing her pain medication. Someone had forged this, and I was looking at a woman who had just committed estate fraud to the tune of nearly $1.8 million. I leaned back in my chair, my mind racing. I needed to think. I needed to plan. Because if I went in angry, if I accused Nicole without ironclad proof, she'd just deny everything. Mark would defend her. It would tear our family apart, and I'd have no leverage. I opened a new folder on my desktop and titled it Mom's Estate Evidence. Then I saved the forged document, noting the metadata, when the file was created, when it was last modified, what software had generated it. My phone buzzed. A text from Nicole. "Did you see the email? We can talk about dividing up Mom's personal items if you want. Maybe you can take some of the furniture?" The audacity. She was offering me furniture from my own mother's house as if she were doing me a favor. I didn't respond. Instead, I called Rebecca, my best friend from law school who now practiced estate law in Charleston. "Jess," her warm voice filled my ear. "I've been meaning to call you. How are you holding up?" "Rebecca, I need your help. Professional help." The warmth in her voice shifted to focus. "What's going on?" I told her everything. The forged document, the timeline that didn't make sense, Nicole's mounting debts, the suspicious witnesses. "Don't respond to her yet," Rebecca said immediately. "Don't let her know you suspect anything. Can you forward me that document? I want to look at it." "I'll send it now." "Good. And Jess? Get the original will. Whatever you do, make sure you have a certified copy of the real will that your mom executed with her actual lawyer. Do you know who drafted it? Mr. Patterson. He's been Mom's lawyer for 30 years. Call him first thing tomorrow. Don't mention the forged document yet. Just tell him you need a certified copy for your records. And Jess? Yeah? Be careful. If Nicole forged this, she's desperate. Desperate people do unpredictable things. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about all the times Nicole had asked my mother questions about her finances. Just planning ahead, she'd say with that sweet smile. I want to make sure Mark and I can help you if you ever need it, Mom. Mom. Nicole had called my mother Mom within 3 months of marrying Mark. At the time, I'd thought it was sweet. Now it made my skin crawl. I remembered the afternoon Nicole had offered to take my mother to her lawyer's appointment to update her will. Mom had declined, saying she preferred I take her since I understood all the financial terminology. Nicole's face had flashed with something irritation, anger, before settling back into her usual pleasant expression. Of course, she'd said. Whatever makes you comfortable, Mom. Had she been planning this even then? Had she been studying my mother's signature, watching how she wrote, preparing for the moment when she'd need to forge it? I got out of bed and went to my home office. I pulled up the files from when I'd helped Mom organize her estate 2 years ago. There it was, her real will, the one Mr. Patterson had drafted. I'd been named executor. The estate was split 60-40 between Mark and me, with specific provisions that the family house would go to me since I was the one who'd expressed interest in keeping it. There were also trusts set up for future grandchildren and a substantial donation to the Savannah Arts Council. None of that was in Nicole's version. Her forged codicil superseded everything, leaving it all to Mark and Nicole jointly. The grandchildren's trusts were dissolved. The art donation was eliminated. And there was a clause that made my stomach turn. I have decided to leave nothing to my daughter Jessica, as she has already received substantial financial support from me during my lifetime. That was a lie. Mom had helped both Mark and me equally through college. She'd given us each $20,000 for our first homes. Everything had always been scrupulously fair. But this clause was genius, in a sick way. It gave a reason for my exclusion that sounded plausible. It made it seem like Mom had thought it through, not just cut me out arbitrarily. I spent the rest of the night documenting everything I could find. Emails from Nicole asking about Mom's accounts, text messages where she'd volunteered to help Mom with paperwork, photos from the hospital showing the timeline. I cross-referenced the metadata from the forged document and discovered the PDF had been created on June 15th, the day after it was supposedly signed. Another red flag. By dawn, I had a file that would make any fraud investigator proud. But I still needed more. I needed the original forgery if it existed, or testimony from a handwriting expert, or proof that those witnesses had never actually seen my mother sign anything. At 9 a.m., I called Mr. Patterson's office. "Jessica, I'm so sorry for your loss," he said when he got on the line. "Your mother was a remarkable woman." "Thank you, Mr. Patterson. I'm calling because I need a certified copy of Mom's will. For my records." There was a pause. "Of course, I can have my assistant prepare that for you. Though I'm a bit confused, I thought Mark picked up the original last week when he came by." My blood went cold. "Mark came by?" "Yes, with his wife. They said they needed the original for probate. I gave them the original and a certified copy. Did they not share it with you? You're the executor." "No, they didn't." I kept my voice steady. "Mr. Patterson, when you gave them the will, did you also give them any other documents? Any amendments or codicils?" "No, there weren't any. Your mother's will hasn't been amended since 2019. "You're absolutely certain?" "Jessica, what's going on?" I made a decision. "Mr. Patterson, I received a document from Nicole claiming to be a codicil to Mom's will, dated June 14th, changing the entire distribution of the estate. Did you draft this?" "No." His voice was sharp now, alarmed. "I absolutely did not. Jessica, I need you to forward me that document immediately. If someone is claiming there's a codicil I didn't draft, that's a serious legal matter. I'll send it right now. And Mr. Patterson? Don't tell anyone I called. Not yet." "Understood. But Jessica, if this is fraud, we need to act quickly. Once probate opens, it becomes much more complicated to challenge." I sent him the document and sat back, my heart pounding. Mark had the original will. That meant he and Nicole knew exactly what they were replacing. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was premeditated fraud. My phone rang. "Rebecca, I've looked at the document," she said without preamble. "It's a forgery, and not even a particularly good one from a legal standpoint. The format is wrong, it doesn't match standard Georgia codicil language, the witness attestation is incomplete. And whoever drafted this didn't know that in Georgia, you need the witnesses to sign in the presence of a notary for a codicil to be valid. This document has witness signatures, but no notary seal. So it's worthless? Legally, yes. But that doesn't mean Nicole won't try to use it. She might be counting on you not fighting it, especially if you're grieving and overwhelmed. A lot of people just accept what they're told about estates, especially when it comes from family. What should I do? We need to get ahead of this. File to open probate with the real will before Nicole can file with her fake one. Once the real will is filed and you're confirmed as executor, her document becomes an obvious fraud attempt. Then we can decide whether to pursue criminal charges. Criminal charges against my brother's wife, possibly against my brother too, if he was involved. Rebecca, what if Mark knew? What if he was part of this? Her voice softened. Then you need to accept that and protect yourself anyway. I know he's your brother, Jess, but $1.8 million is a lot of money. People have betrayed family for far less. I thought about Mark, the brother who'd taught me to ride a bike, who'd walked me down the aisle at my wedding when Dad was too sick to do it, who'd called me crying when Mom's cancer came back. But I also thought about how he'd changed, how he'd become evasive, how he'd missed Mom's last birthday because Nicole had planned a trip that couldn't be rescheduled, how he'd barely spoken to me at the funeral, standing close to Nicole's side, whispering in hushed conversations that stopped when I approached. File the probate, I said. Do it today if you can. I'll draft the petition right now. I'll need you to sign it, and we'll file electronically. Jessica? Yeah? Once we do this, there's no going back. Nicole will know you're challenging her. Things might get ugly. They already are ugly. I just didn't know it yet. For the next 3 days, I moved through my life in a strange duality. On the surface, I went to work, answered emails, met with clients, but underneath, I was building a case. I hired a handwriting expert and sent him samples of my mother's real signature alongside the forged one. His report came back within 48 hours. It is my professional opinion with a high degree of certainty that the signature on the document dated June 14th was not executed by the same person who signed the exemplars provided. The pressure patterns, letter formation, and baseline consistency are inconsistent with the known signatures. I tracked down one of the supposed witnesses from the forged document. Her name was Ashley Monroe, and according to the address listed, she lived in Nicole's apartment building in Atlanta, the one Nicole and Mark had lived in before they moved to Savannah last year. I called her, pretending to be from the estate attorney's office. Hi, Miss Monroe. I'm calling to verify that you witnessed a will signing for Diane Peterson on June 14th. Who? I don't know any Diane Peterson. You're listed as a witness on a legal document. Your signature is here. That's impossible. I haven't witnessed any legal documents. Are you sure you have the right Ashley Monroe? The address listed is 4782 Piedmont Circle, Unit 302. That's my address, but I'm telling you, I never signed anything for anyone named Peterson. Is this some kind of scam? No, ma'am. Thank you for your time. I hung up and added her statement to my file. The second witness's phone number was disconnected. Either she didn't exist, or Nicole had used a fake contact. On the fourth day, Nicole called me. Jessica, we need to talk about the house. I was at my desk at work, analyzing financial statements for a lawsuit. I put down my pen. What about it? Well, Mark and I have been thinking. The house is too big for you to maintain by yourself. We were thinking we could sell it and split the proceeds. You could get a nice condo somewhere. It would be easier. The will hasn't gone through probate yet, Nicole. I know, but I thought we could plan ahead. Get the house ready to list. Mark and I could really use the money. We've had some unexpected expenses. I bet you have, I thought. Like $200,000 in debt from your failed business. I'll think about it, I said. Great. Oh, and Jessica? Her voice turned sweeter. I hope there's no weirdness between us. I know Mom's will might have surprised you, but she talked to me a lot in those last few weeks. She wanted to make sure Mark and I were taken care of. She knew you were doing well with your career. Mom talked to you in her last weeks? Oh, yes. She felt bad that she couldn't help us more while she was alive. That's why she changed the will. Lies. All lies. Mom had been barely conscious her last 2 weeks. The hospice records would prove it. Okay, Nicole. Thanks for calling. Bye, sweetie. Love you. I hung up and immediately called Rebecca. She's pressuring me to sell the house. She's getting anxious. Good. That works in our favor. The probate petition was filed this morning. The court will notify all parties within 48 hours. She's about to find out that her plan isn't working. What do you think she'll do? Honestly? She might try to file her fake codicil anyway, hope it causes enough confusion to delay things, or she might panic and make a mistake. Either way, we're ready. That night, I drove to Mom's house. I'd been avoiding it since the funeral, unable to face the empty rooms. But now I needed to be there. I needed to remember why I was doing this. I used my key and walked through the familiar hallway. The house still smelled like Mom's lavender sachets. Her reading glasses were still on the side table. Her teacup, washed and placed in the dish rack, waiting for a morning that would never come. I went to her study and sat at her desk. This was where she'd graded papers for 35 years, where she'd written recommendation letters for hundreds of students, where she'd managed the household finances with meticulous care after Dad died. On the wall was a photo of Mark and me, maybe 10 and 7 years old, at the beach. Mom had written on the back, "My greatest treasures." Had she really cut me out of her will? Had she really thought I'd received more than Mark? No. I knew my mother. She would never have done that, especially not in some secret codicil signed when she could barely hold a pen. Nicole had done this. Nicole, who'd smiled at family dinners while planning to steal everything. Nicole, who'd called my mother Mom while forging her signature. Nicole, who was now trying to gaslight me into giving up without a fight. My phone buzzed. A text from Mark. "Can we talk? In person?" I stared at the message. This was it, the moment I'd been dreading. Did he know what Nicole had done? Was he part of it? Or was he as much a victim as I was, manipulated by a wife who'd hidden her true nature? I texted back, "Sure." "When? Tomorrow? Lunch? The usual place?" The usual place was Frank's Diner, where Mark and I had met for Saturday lunch almost every week for the past 5 years, until Nicole came along and the tradition quietly died. "Noon," I replied. I spent the rest of the evening in Mom's house, going through her files, her photos, her life, building my resolve for what was coming. The next day, I arrived at Frank's early. I chose a booth in the back, away from windows, where we could talk privately. I brought a folder with me, not my evidence file, just some family photos and Mom's obituary. Props, in case anyone was watching. Mark arrived exactly at noon. He looked terrible. His face was drawn, his eyes had dark circles, and he'd lost weight. He slid into the booth across from me and didn't meet my eyes. "Hey, Jess." "Hey." The waitress came by and we both ordered coffee we didn't want, just to give us something to do with our hands. "I'm sorry I haven't called much," he said finally. "Since the funeral. I didn't know what to say." "It's okay. I've been busy too." Silence stretched between us. Finally, he looked up. "Nicole told me she sent you the document. The codicil." My heart rate picked up. "She did. I know it must have been a shock. It was a shock to me too when Mom told us about it." "When did she tell you?" "That last week, when you stepped out to make phone calls, I guess. Mom asked me and Nicole to come in, and she said she wanted to make sure we were taken care of, that she was changing her will." He was lying. Or Nicole had lied to him, and he believed it. Either way, this conversation was headed somewhere I needed to navigate carefully. Mom was heavily sedated that last week. The hospice logs show she was barely conscious. She had moments of clarity. "You weren't there every second, Jess." "Actually, I was. I have photos time-stamped from that entire week. I know exactly when Mom was awake and when she wasn't." His jaw tightened. "Are you calling me a liar?" "I'm saying someone isn't telling the truth. And I need to know if it's you or if it's Nicole." "Nicole wouldn't lie about this." "Wouldn't she?" "Mark, do you know how much debt she has? Do you know about the boutique failure? The credit cards?" His face flushed. "How do you know about that?" "I'm a forensic accountant. It's literally my job to find financial fraud. Did you really think I wouldn't look into this? It's not fraud. Mom changed her will. Maybe she didn't tell you because she knew you'd react like this. I pulled out my phone and opened the photos from June 14th. This is Mom at 2:47 p.m. Asleep. This is 3:15 p.m. Still asleep. This is 3:42 p.m. The nurse is checking her vitals because she hadn't woken up in hours. The codicil is dated 3:30 p.m. Who witnessed this signing, Mark? Was it you? He grabbed the phone, staring at the photos. His hand was shaking. Nicole said. She said Mom signed it in the morning. The document says 3:30 p.m. Then it's a typo. A typo? On a legal document that changes a $1.8 million estate? He pushed the phone back to me. I don't know what you want me to say, Jess. I want you to tell me the truth. Did you know Nicole forged this document? She didn't forge anything. Then why are the witnesses fake? I called Ashley Monroe. She never witnessed anything. The second witness's number is disconnected. The signature doesn't match Mom's handwriting. There's no notary seal, which is required in Georgia. The legal language is wrong. The format is wrong. Mark, this document was created on a computer on June 15th, the day after Mom died. It's in the metadata. He stood up suddenly, the booth rocking. I don't have to listen to this. Yes, you do. Because I filed the real will for probate yesterday. The one where Mom named me executor. The one she actually signed with Mr. Patterson, with proper witnesses, with a notary seal, with every legal requirement met. Your fake codicil is going to be challenged, and when it is, there will be an investigation, and that investigation will lead to criminal charges for whoever forged it. His face went pale. You filed for probate? I'm the executor. It's my legal responsibility. Nicole is going to, he stopped himself. Nicole is going to what? He sat back down heavily. She's going to lose it. She was counting on this money. We need it, Jess. We're drowning. The creditors are calling every day. We might lose our house. And there it was. The truth. Not that Nicole had forged the document, but that Mark knew they needed the money badly enough to use it. I'm sorry you're in financial trouble, I said quietly. I really am. But stealing our mother's estate isn't the solution. We're not stealing. Mom wanted us to have it. No, she didn't. And deep down, you know that. Mom would never cut me out completely. She would never dissolve the grandchildren's trusts. She would never cancel her art donation. She loved that arts council. Tears started running down his face. What am I supposed to do? Nicole said. This was the answer. She said Mom had told her privately that there was a new will, that we just needed to make it official. Make it official? Mark, do you hear yourself? You can't just make official a will that doesn't exist. I didn't know it was fake. I swear, Jess. Nicole showed me the document. She said Mom had signed it with a mobile notary service. She had all the details. Why would I think my own wife was lying to me? Because she's a con artist, I thought. Because she saw a vulnerable man with family money and she's been playing him since day one. But I didn't say that. Instead, I said, "What are you going to do now?" He wiped his face with his napkin. I don't know. I need to talk to Nicole. She forged legal documents, Mark. That's a felony. If you knew about it, even if you believed her story, you could be charged as an accessory. I didn't know. I'm telling you, I thought it was real. Then you need to cooperate with the investigation. Tell the truth. Testify that Nicole showed you the document and claimed Mom had signed it. She's my wife, and I'm your sister. Mom was our mother. This isn't about picking sides in a marriage. This is about fraud and forgery and stealing from a dead woman who spent her whole life being honest and fair. He stood up again, this time slower. I need to go. Mark, I need to think. I just need to go. He walked out, leaving his untouched coffee on the table. I sat there for a long time, staring at the two cups, thinking about how everything had fallen apart. That evening, Rebecca called. Nicole filed a response to the probate petition. She's claiming the codicil is valid and requesting the court delay probate pending authentication of the document. Of course she is. It's not going to work. The judge will see right through it. But it's going to drag this out a few more weeks. Are you prepared for that? Do I have a choice? Not really. But Jess? Mark contacted me this afternoon. He wants to talk, off the record. He does? He says he has information about how Nicole obtained your mother's signature samples. He thinks she might have practiced forging it for months. There's a storage unit with papers in it. My breath caught. He's turning on her. It sounds like it, but he wants immunity from prosecution in exchange for his testimony. Can you do that? The DA can, if the case goes criminal, which it's headed that way. Nicole's response to the probate petition included sworn statements that she witnessed your mother sign the codicil. That's perjury on top of forgery. What happens next? We wait for the court date. In the meantime, I'm going to recommend you file a police report. Get the criminal investigation started. The more evidence we have, the stronger your position. I filed the police report the next morning. Detective Sarah Chen from the Savannah PD met with me in a windowless room at the precinct, and I walked her through everything. The timeline, the forged signatures, the fake witnesses, the metadata, the handwriting analysis, the hospital photos. She listened carefully, taking notes, occasionally asking clarifying questions. "This is a solid case," she said when I finished. "I'm going to get a warrant for Nicole's computer and phone records. If she created this document, there will be evidence on her devices, digital files, internet searches for how to forge a signature, maybe even practice documents. My brother says there's a storage unit. We'll need his testimony to get access to that. Is he cooperating? He's asking for immunity. Smart. If he helps us build the case against Nicole, I'll recommend the DA grant it. Brothers don't usually throw their wives under the bus unless they're really guilty." The next 2 weeks were a blur of legal proceedings. The court date was set. Nicole's lawyer, an expensive Atlanta attorney that she somehow afforded, filed motion after motion trying to delay things, but the judge saw through it. Mark moved out of their house and into a hotel. He turned over his copy of the forged document, along with text messages from Nicole coaching him on what to say. The smoking gun was a message from Nicole dated June 13th. "I'm almost done with the new document. Mom's signature is harder than I thought, but I think I got it. Going to use Ashley's name as witness like we talked about." Mark had responded, "Are you sure about this?" "Nicole, we need this money. Trust me." The storage unit revealed dozens of practice sheets where Nicole had traced over copies of my mother's signature, trying to perfect her forgery. There were printouts of Georgia estate law, highlighted sections about codicils and witness requirements. There was even a receipt for a signature forging kit purchased online. At the probate hearing, Nicole showed up in a black dress that probably cost more than she should have been spending, given her debt situation. She sat on the opposite side of the courtroom from Mark, who sat with his new lawyer. When the judge called the case, Nicole's attorney stood up and tried to argue that the codicil should be admitted. He was eloquent and forceful, painting a picture of a dying woman's last wishes being ignored by a bitter daughter. Then Rebecca stood up. She presented the hospital photos, time-stamped and verified. She presented the handwriting expert's testimony. She presented Ashley Monroe's sworn statement that she'd never witnessed anything. She presented the computer metadata showing the document was created after Mom died. She presented the text messages between Mark and Nicole. She presented the storage unit evidence. By the time she sat down, Nicole was pale. Her lawyer was shuffling papers, clearly unprepared for the mountain of evidence against his client. The judge looked at Nicole. "Miss Peterson, did you create the document dated June 14th that purports to be a codicil to Diane Peterson's last will and testament?" Nicole's lawyer whispered something to her. She stood up. "Your Honor, my mother-in-law expressed wishes to me privately. I was just trying to honor those wishes. By forging her signature? I didn't forge anything. She told me what she wanted." The judge held up the practice sheets from the storage unit. "Then what are these?" Nicole didn't answer. "Miss Peterson, I'm finding that the document you presented is fraudulent. The original will, executed in 2019 and properly witnessed and notarized, is the valid testamentary document. Jessica Peterson is confirmed as executor. Furthermore, I'm referring this matter to the district attorney for criminal prosecution. Bailiff, please escort Miss Peterson out." Nicole's face crumpled. She looked at Mark, who was staring at the floor. Mark, please, tell them I didn't." But Mark didn't look up. The bailiff gently took Nicole's arm and led her out of the courtroom. Her lawyer hurried after them. I sat there, feeling strangely empty. I'd won. The house was safe. Mom's true wishes would be honored. Justice had been served. But I'd lost my brother. Maybe not legally, but certainly emotionally. The gap between us was now a canyon. Rebecca touched my shoulder. "You okay?" "I don't know." 3 months later, Nicole was indicted on charges of forgery, fraud, and perjury. She pled guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence, 18 months in prison, 5 years probation, and restitution for the legal fees I'd incurred fighting her. Mark and I met for coffee a few times. It was stilted and awkward. He apologized, said he'd been blind, said he should have known. I believed him, mostly. He was a victim, too, in his way. But the relationship we'd had was gone, replaced by something more cautious and sad. I moved into Mom's house. The first night there, I sat in her study and went through her papers properly. There were letters she'd written but never sent, journal entries, little notes to herself. One note, dated 2 years earlier, said, "Talked to Jessica today about the will. She said I should do what feels right. She doesn't care about the money, just wants me to be happy. That's my girl. Always thinking of others before herself." I cried then. Not for the money or the house or the legal battle, but for my mother, who'd spent her whole life being fair and kind, and who'd had her legacy nearly stolen by someone she'd welcomed into the family. But I also felt something else. Pride, maybe. I'd fought for her when she couldn't fight for herself. I'd used every skill I had, professional and personal, to protect what she'd built. And I'd won. The house is mine now. I repainted the kitchen, updated the bathrooms, and turned Mom's sewing room into a home office. I still work as a forensic accountant, but I've started taking on more estate cases, helping other families who suspect fraud. Last month, a woman called me. Her sister-in-law was pressuring her to sign over power of attorney. Something felt wrong, she said, but she didn't know what to do. I took her case pro bono, because I know what it's like to face someone who smiles to your face while planning to take everything. I know the fear, the doubt, the guilt of suspecting family, and I know how to fight back. Mark texts me occasionally, short messages, "Thinking of you, hope you're well." I respond kindly but briefly. Maybe one day we'll rebuild what we lost. Maybe not. Either way, I've made my peace with it. Nicole's in prison. I don't think about her much anymore. She's just a cautionary tale now, a reminder of what desperation and greed can drive people to do. But Mom's house stands. Her legacy stands. The Art Council received their donation. Future grandchildren will have their trusts, if Mark or I ever have kids. Everything she wanted, everything she worked for, is exactly where she intended it to be. And that's enough. That's more than enough. Sometimes, on Sunday afternoons, I sit in the garden Mom planted and I think about all the ways this could have gone differently if I hadn't been a forensic accountant, if I hadn't known what to look for, if I'd been too grief-stricken to fight back. Nicole would have won. She would have taken everything, and Mom's lifetime of careful planning would have been erased. But I did know. I did fight back. And in the end, truth won over lies, preparation won over desperation, and justice won over greed. I think Mom would be proud of that. I think she'd be proud of me for standing up, even when it was hard, even when it cost me my brother, even when it meant turning family drama into a criminal case. Because some things are worth fighting for. And your mother's legacy, her final wishes, her lifetime of love and sacrifice, those things are worth any fight. I learned that the hard way, but I learned it well. And now, sitting in her house, living her values, continuing her legacy of fairness and kindness, and standing up for what's right, I finally understand what she was trying to teach me all along. That family isn't just blood, it's values, it's integrity, it's doing the right thing even when the right thing is hard. And that's a lesson worth more than any inheritance.